Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. I thought we'd have a look at some of the changelogs that have come out the last few days. Of course, with the Great War event going on, there's been a ton of balance changes with it, which, to be honest, shouldn't really be too surprising, since this is normally what they do with these April Fool's events. A lot of people have pointed out that this event's only going on for a week, and maybe this is a signal that they're going to do another event right after it, maybe a modern infantry one. Who knows? Maybe that's the case. I wonder if the infantry will be AI, or maybe it'll be playable. My guess would be AI, though. It fits War Thunder a lot better. But with this event being shorter than a lot of the usual April Fool's events we've had more recently, it is more key for Gaijin to get the balance correct in it. And I feel like so far they probably haven't, if we're honest about it. There are now at least 2 vehicles that are useful compared to before, where it was only 1, so at least we're getting somewhere. And maybe after the fresh set of changes today, maybe it's a little bit better. Anyway, if you enjoy the content, make sure to subscribe. Let's get into the changelogs. The first one is updates 2.45.1.31. This came out yesterday, and they changed a few things when it came to aircraft, but the main changes were, of course, the Great War balancing. So, for aircraft, you had the Su-30SM. There was a bug where information about target type recognition disappeared on the hood when a captured target went beyond the screen, and that has been fixed, which is very powerful. The Sea Harrier FRS-1E, the FRS-1 and FA-2, there was a bug where it was impossible to switch the hood mode when the landing gear was down. That's been fixed. Once again, how does that happen? Then you have the AD-2 and also the AD-4s and the A-1H. There was a bug where these aircraft did not sink in water, and that's been fixed too. So they had the Hornet bug, which once again is just so odd as a thing. Just for some reason, they just became amphibious in the last update. They must have changed some kind of factor which affects these vehicles, and well, at least somebody found it now. With the Hornet, it was found after like a day. With these ones, obviously, maybe not as played as much, or maybe people aren't just crashing them into the water as much, so maybe it took a bit longer. For ground vehicles, it is all about the Great War, and the first thing that ended up changing was, of course, the A7V. The A7V is, and well, it probably still is, the most powerful vehicle in it, just because it was really, really strong and it was really, really good. They reduced the rate of fire of the gun, so instead of it being 90.8, it's now 15 rounds per minute. The material type of the crew platform above the engine has also been changed from rolled homogeneous armor to structural steel, which has changed some of its components. You can actually kill it with the Garford through the driver's port now, and also with the Saint-Chamond, they actually did quite a few changes too. The rate of fire has been increased from 10 to 15 rounds, so now it has the same fire rate as the A7V, and also the initial velocity of the armor-piercing shell was increased from 470 to 570. This gave it like 20 millimeters more pen, and meant when you pen the A7V, you didn't just take out its front component or its top component where its driver is, it actually pens a lot more and does a lot of damage. It's actually a really good show of how penetration does matter quite a lot with these shells. Even if you can already pen something, if you can pen it even further, but not pen it too much, it means that the explosive mass can get to the targets that it needs to get to instead of missing. So a big buff to the Saint-Chamond, and it was needed. The Saint-Chamond is pretty fun to play, but it has a key issue, and of course that issue is it's not survivable at all. It can basically just get one shot by anything since all the crew's in the front of it, and hopefully, kind of going forward, it can have a little bit of a better time. The Garford, all of its variants, the recoil force of the gun when firing has been reduced, so now the vehicle doesn't bounce around as much after firing. The rate of fire has been increased from 14 to 15 rounds per minute, so they're basically equaling out everything. Same with the Butte Panzer IV. That one now fires at 50 rounds per minute as well. I will say, with a lot of these Great War vehicles, one of the things about them is the fact that when you shoot the guns, you do kind of like shift quite a lot. The Saint-Chamond, when I was playing it the other day, had this issue, but luckily they have sorted it out with the Garford. The Garford is actually a lot better now. You know, they've made it so it can actually move a little bit better and move around, which is nice. And then also with the Butepanzer 4 and the Mark V Male, there was a bug that caused these tanks to excessively slide on slopes, which has been fixed. The bug where the guns also use shells from the rack on the opposite side of the vehicle has been fixed as well, which is just kind of funny. And then also, in the Great War setup, the Garford, the mobility and cross-country ability has been improved for it, so it can actually move around now. What happened before is you could kind of like move in the spawn not too badly, and then you would just kind of get stuck. And once you go into like the middle of the battlefield, which, you know, for a vehicle that needs its mobility to survive, it wasn't exactly going very well. I see more and more people using the Garford now just because they can HE donk people with it, and I'm sure that's going to continue to be quite good. The thing about it, though, is since the Garford's on both sides, whichever side is strongest, it's just going to buff that side because they're going to have one usable vehicle right now, or at least yesterday. Obviously, it could have changed today because there's another fresh set of changes. One of the things is Germany had the Garford, and they also had the A7V. The Garford can pen everything on the Entente side, and it can one-shot the Saint-Chamond, it can one-shot the, obviously, the Garford itself, and it can one-shot the Butepanzer. The A7V can tank pretty much everything from the Garford and, of course, the Mark V, but it couldn't tank the Saint-Chamond. But the A7V could also kill the Saint-Chamond. So Germany is still incredibly strong right now because of the captured vehicles, but also because the Mark V is just completely worthless, and you have to rely on the Saint-Chamond to actually do damage, and that thing is a glass cannon. So not exactly great. There's also, with the Zeppelin, a bug that caused the Zeppelin to disappear without an explosion has been fixed. Survivability has also been increased, which is what we talked about the other day. The Fokker D7 and also the SPAD S13, the incorrect engine and machine gun sounds have been fixed too. The vehicles feel... Right, okay. I know, I'm going to preface this. I know that World War I biplanes were incredibly slow. But there seems to be something where they lose so much energy, even with just like a simple turn. It's as if like the rudder or the elevator is just sapping energy from the vehicle, and I don't really know why. So it means that you're always in a position where you're kind of losing altitude to be able to gain energy to win these fights, which is something that you can't always do, especially when you're fighting stuff. And I wonder if there's an issue with it. Maybe there isn't. Maybe it's just because the engine power was that weak, but I'm actually enjoying the planes quite a lot, even in this small closed environment. There was also a bug where the player's aircraft would leave a trail against the background of clouds, so it would actually do a bit of ghosting. That's been fixed. This means that you could actually track people through clouds, which was one of the dumbest things imaginable, and also has been in the game for pretty much a decade now, so I wonder if that is actually finally fixed. And in the Battle of Jutland, there was a bug where the shadows were too dark, and that's also been fixed. And on the interface, there was a bug where the gun depression angle for some tanks had different values on the X-ray and the stat card, which has now been fixed too. And now the aiming angle is displayed with decimal fractions of a degree. The HP-12 also has the incorrect engine sound. That's been fixed too, so that's really nice to see. So very happy that they've done all of those. And then there was another server update today, basically on the 3rd of April, and they changed radars once again for aircraft. This is a change across the board though, so it isn't just a targeting specific stuff, but basically limits of maximum radial speed have been increased for the search and track modes of the aircraft radars. The change allows the locking on of high-velocity targets, such as air-to-air missiles. So, therefore, it should be a little bit easier to tell what's kind of coming at you, and also what you're able to go after. Ground vehicles, once again, we have some more balance changes for the Great War mode. The Saint-Chamond, the tracer on the AP shell, has been replaced with a smoke shell, or sorry, not a smoke shell, a smoke trail. So you'll be able to guide it a little bit easier instead of just the tracer, which can be a little bit harder. The AML 90 and MX 1390 group icon has been corrected. Not entirely sure what was wrong with it, but it's good that they fixed that. And then also the Saint-Chamond, the Mark V Mail, the Butte Panzer, and the A7V. The names in the marker medium ranges have been changed from SPGs to medium tanks. So for some reason they were classed as SPGs. I can kind of get that with the Saint-Chamond, but everything else, yeah, medium tanks make sense. Technically they're assault tanks, right? But I don't know if we actually have that as kind of a definition. Maybe if we get more of these vehicles in the future, which is kind of doubtful. You know, we've got like the big ones in this event and in the game now, but if they decide to go along with this, maybe assault tank is something we'll see turn up. With the Great War as well, there's a new mission variant where the teams are swapped, and that has been added. That's really good. So when you have a battlefield, and the battlefield is straight up just like, you know, one side versus another, it's good to switch which sides people spawn, so therefore you can't use that as a balancing factor, because usually it favors one side. Like, for example, in this Great War mode, one side basically has a big hill, and the other side just has flat ground. Now, because the German side was the one which only had flat ground, and because they were already winning, it's generally okay. But if you make a bunch of balance changes, where that's not always the case, then the other side is going to get favored, because they can actually, you know, camp and use the hill and move around. So the fact that they've done this is good. It's a sign that they're once again going towards balance. We are 3 days into this 7-day event, and yeah, it's still not really in a huge way balanced. There's still most people queuing for good old Germany, but at least this is a good step in a positive direction. And as I said, I find it crazy that just people just still, even when there's so much to get from playing both sides, you still have like 90%, maybe 95% of people just playing the strongest side. It's just so nuts. Absolutely insane. And a perfect example, by the way, why we can never have stuff like historical matchmaking, or never have stuff like World War II Chronicles back again. Because stuff like this happens, where even when you have great incentives to play both sides, for some reason the majority of people who are interested in the events only want to play one side. They also changed the Garford crew to Russian from English, which obviously is good because it's a Russian vehicle. The Saint-Chamond got changed from being a English crew to a French crew, which is really good. And also they improved the mobility of it, so it's probably a little bit more of a speed demon since, you know, it's pretty slow in the events. That's good. And then also the Butte Panzer and the Mark V, the reverse speed in the event has been increased too. So they're doing some little balance changes now, trying to get them going. They also put out an article about War Thunder Esports in 2025 and what is going to be happening. Looks like they're going to do 4 major kind of events this year, starting obviously in April with the Titans event. Then you've got the Armored Apex finals in July, then the Superiority event, and then the Thunder Cup event. I don't know how this is different from previous years. Maybe it's a bit more formalized, but I feel like these were going on anyway, or at least 3 of them were. So yeah, these are going to be what's classed as major events, and everybody can participate. Basically, you do it through WTCS and with different teams. You also have Thunder Points, which mean that you are able to get involved in the tournaments themselves, and also it will give you some points at the end of it, meaning that you can get some rewards and also cash prizes for participating. They do have some sponsors, Thrustmaster and also Stream by Hercules, which are supporting these things, and also they give you an opportunity to follow their Twitch and also YouTube. One of the things is these streams will have Twitch drops on them, so therefore they'll be worth watching for people to get free stuff. which is obviously what we're all here for. There's also going to be some community tournaments as well. In May, there'll be a Chinese one. July, French. August, Polish. October, we'll have a German one. And also November, we'll have a Portuguese one, which seems a little bit odd. But yeah, the basic thing is there's going to be more free stuff coming. So make sure to check out the news when these tournaments are on, because otherwise, what's the point in watching? As always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem, Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.